Recording started.
And we're going, okay? So, somebody say I'm actually excited about talk about credit. Good. All right. Some of those adult things, right? That we got to talk about. So, today we're going to go over Unit 4. Let me get my little pointer out. So, we're going to be Unit 4, Lessons 11 and 12. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Let's move on about pacing real quick, okay? So where you should be right now. So as I said before, I put in zeros every Monday, okay? And so you may, like over the weekend, like you've looked at your grade and then it's dropped because I put in the scores on Monday. So you should be done with quizzes 8 all that one with the 8, which is lesson 8, and then all with lesson 9, okay? So that's unit 2 and unit 3. You should be done with all of those, okay? So this week you should be working on unit 4, lesson 1, or sorry, I should have changed that. It shouldn't be lesson 1. That should be lesson, let me go back. I changed things up to try to make it easier for you guys. So basically lesson 10 and lesson 11, because that's what the 10 means in the quizzes and what 11 means there. Okay, so I'm trying to make it a little bit easier for you to understand. And then what's upcoming is Unit 4, Lesson 3, Unit 5, Lesson 1. So we basically have 2 more classes that we're going to go through. Well, yeah, do this week. So we have this class. We have 2 more classes. So next week and the week after that. And then you should be done with, if you're keeping pace, with all of your quizzes. Okay. Week 9 is basically, I have a week that's a catch-up week, but you'd rather be done, right? You'd rather be like Zoe and completely finish with the class. So if you want to jump on and hurry and finish up, I'm more than happy for you to do that, okay? Because that's my goal. You probably noticed I've started texting some of you guys again. Don't make me get the phone calls. We have to do that. We're actually going to some people's houses too. So if I show up on your front doorstep, I'm the guy without the beard now. Well, my beard wasn't that good anyways, so. Alright. Okay, the first one, lesson 11, we're going to be going over spending plans. Okay, we got like 53 slides to get through, so sorry, it's a lot of information. So I'll just get rolling into it, okay? So what is a spending plan? A spending plan is also called a budget, okay? Do you guys budget anything ever? So if you want to buy your what's the latest console out there? Xbox One? Aren't they coming out with something different? Do they have something better than Xbox One? Or I think they're coming out with a PlayStation something, right? Remind me if I'm wrong. They have a Nintendo Switch. Yeah, I've heard those are pretty cool. So, but basically what a spending plan is a tool to keep record and track of your different projects, what's coming in, and then expenses going out, and then also planning for things, okay? So which will go into credit, which is basically what the lessons 12 is about, okay? So basically it's a simple roadmap for your financial goals. You need to be flexible and change during different life stages. So for example, in my life stage right now, I have to pay for a lot of diapers, right? Because I have kids. I have 2 that are potty trained now, and I have just 1 in diapers, so I'm looking for the day without that. So you might have to add to your budget to include diapers or formula or, you know, whatever the extra expense is. They are not difficult to establish, but they take time and commitment. And I think that's the biggest thing is, we remember at the beginning of this class we talked about money is emotional, right? And so when people are spending money, especially the way like my wife and I was like, oh, why did you spend money on this, right? Why do you spend money on that? It can kind of get to be a thing of contention. Okay, there's a recommended track for spending prior to creating a budget. Okay, so you want to see what you're spending things on, and that's why we said we've listed like what's essential and what's not essential in some of our things. Note that in a budget there should not be any money left over. That doesn't mean that you've spent it all, but that you've put some like in savings for a rainy day fund is what they call it, or other things like that. So a spending plan can help you put aside money for saving goals, prepare for regular expenses, such as maybe insurance costs or things that you know that come up. Because, like for example, a lot of times if you pay a full amount for something, like up front, like your insurance premiums or gym membership, you can usually get discounts and save money that way. Prepared for unexpected events, which I like to call a rainy day fund. A rainy day fund, usually most people say about $1,000 you want to have in the bank for a rainy day fund. So like car breaks down or some unexpected expense. But then also you have bigger things, like they like you to say to have 3 to 6 months of expenses in your like a savings account. So for example, if somebody was to like lose a job or something like that, you would have money to be able to do that, and you didn't have to go into debt or things like that. This controls how your money's spent. It reduces stress and increases confidence, and it provides an excuse to calm excessive spending. So instead of going on Amazon app, which I do all the time, like, oh, I need this, right? Did I really need that? No. It's like if I don't have the money, then I won't use the money, right? So some consequences of not using a budget. You have no idea where your money's spent. I've been in that area before, okay? I'm like, how did I just, why is my bill on, my credit card $3,000, right? Or something like that. You might think that's a lot, but it's kind of not. Okay, and we'll talk about credit cards when we come to credit in a little bit. There's a reason why I use credit cards, but you have to be really disciplined in it, okay? So I'll kind of tell you about that. Bad spending habits are unidentified. So I'll tell you a story real quick. So I have a friend that every time that he stopped at a gas station, he would come out with $10 worth of items. And he stopped at a gas station, 3-4 times a week, right? So there's $40, $50 that he's spending just on stuff. Plus he filled up with gas and stuff too. But he found out that that was a bad spending habit, and he could go to the store and buy the same thing and just keep them with him. And then he didn't have to go into the gas station and buy $10 worth of things. He could buy them at the grocery store and only spend, less than half the cost. Okay? You won't be prepared for unplanned emergencies, like your car breaks down, you need to fix it. Strained relationships, I talked about that. My wife and I, that's one of the things we fight about is a little bit of money, but not too bad. But it can cause a lot of stress on there. Lack of savings plan. So when you become retired, you might never be able to retire because you don't have any kind of money to set aside for retirement. Wasted money might just, money just goes in and comes out. And it's stressful, right? If you have people calling you, debt collectors, and saying, you need to pay me this money right now, or I'm going to do this. I'm going to repossess your car. You're going to be kicked out of your house. Okay, that's what it can get down to. So it's stressful. Okay, so you have opportunity costs of spending plans. So consumers, which are you guys who use things, buy things, may feel like having a budget is confining or restrictive, but actually it gives you more freedom and options. Because if you're not spending things on the little things like going into the gas station, coming out with $10, $15 worth of stuff, and you're able to buy things that you want to buy because you have extra money left over, it's nice. By paying attention to where your money goes, you make wise choices. And as I said, you get to spend it where I think it really matters. With more freedom, more options, wiser choices, more money can be spent on items of value and things that you really want. Okay, so to track your spending, before making a budget, spend a couple of weeks writing down every penny you spend, okay? This will help you have a better idea of where every dollar should be and start making a budget. Okay, so there's a couple things you need to do. So step number 1, assess your personal finance situation. What are your needs? What are your values? What's your life situation? Okay, as I said, if you're, mine right now, I gotta set aside X amount of money, maybe $50 for diapers. Okay. Number 2, set personal and financial goals. So where do you want to be in 5 years, right? Do you want to own a house in 5 years? Do you want to own your car outright in 5 years? So there's a lot of things that you want to do on there. Okay. Create a budget for fixed and variable expenses. So based on projected income. Okay, so fixed expenses are like what happens every month. So like you have to pay your phone bill every month or you can't talk on your phone. So that would be a fixed expense. You know exactly how much that is every month. A variable cost is something that comes every once in a while. Okay, so may come up every 2 or 3 months. This might happen. So you want to think about those. You want to monitor current spending. So what's in your savings account, what you're investing, those different patterns. Compare your budget to what you actually spent, and then review financial process and revise your budget amounts. Okay, so this is a thing that I can share with you if you're interested in. This is just a little way to track it. So your earned income, money that you've just received, so that could be like an allowance or something like that. Paying yourself first, how much you're going to put away, fixed expenses and variable expenses, and then you come up with a budget that way. So anybody want that, you can email me and let me know. I could also put it up on my website. Okay, so we have something what's called more expenses than income, which is called negative cash flow. Negative cash flow typically results in debt. Okay, so you're putting money on credit or credit cards or home equity loan, that kind of stuff. So part of being financially independent is spending less than you actually earn, which is sometimes hard to do, especially when the cost of living is high. So reduce shopping. Here are some ways you can do it. Use couponing, okay? Do comparison shopping, so don't just buy the first thing you see. Okay, I need to work on this a little bit. Avoid impulse purchases, so make sure it's not emotional. Buying items that are on sale. Yep, bargain shopping. Carpool or walk, ride a bike, okay? Eating at home instead of eating out. Eliminating and reducing the impulse purchases. Vending machines, convenience stores, I talked about. Shop at thrift stores, wear hand-me-down clothes, use frequent shopper cards, okay? All those things can help reduce cost. Okay, to increase income, a couple things. After school or weekend jobs, okay? Additional chores around the house, yard work, babysitting, summer jobs, walking the dog. House sitting, garage sales, so selling your items, or provide different services, okay? Okay, here are some guidelines for a budget, okay? So if you had like a house, your house and utilities should be about 30% of your budget, okay? So if you're talking about like, if you make like $1,000 or whatever, okay, so $1,000, so $300 would be for house and utilities. Or $300. $200 would go for food and house. Clothing and personal would be $100. Transportation would be $100. Saving and investing would be $100, and miscellaneous items would be 20%. And so that would take care of your whole entire thing. So that's kind of a good recommendation that they ask to do. Okay. Here's some tools for a budgeting thing. I would really recommend this this first one, an envelope system. I've actually done this before. My wife and I, as we were trying to get our spending habits all on track. What you would do in an envelope system, and we'll kind of go over this, is you put the money you get, you take it all out in cash, okay? And you put it into different envelopes. And you say, okay, this envelope is for clothing. As soon as you're done, that envelope's gone, all the money is it, you cannot spend anymore. You can only spend that amount. So it really looks at for you to bargain shop and comparison shop to find the best thing that is good for you. It's really good. You also have a computer tracking system, which is kind of nice. And then also a paper tracking system. So let's kind of go over some of those. So I kind of already talked about an envelope system. So each envelope is labeled for a category of spending. Okay. Each pay period, you take out that amount. And each time money is spent from the envelope, the transaction details, date, vendor, amount is recorded on the outside. So you can do that. I didn't go into that much detail. We basically said, look, as soon as it's gone, it's gone. We can't use it anymore. Okay? When the envelope is empty, your spending ceases. You can't do anymore, right? Until that next month of allotted money comes through. It's really good if you're having a hard time not spending all your money. Okay? Okay, you have different computer systems like this one, for example, where you could have like credit cards, savings. Right now, my wife and I do this. We don't do it on this program in particular. We just do it on a Google spreadsheet, and then we just kind of move over what we have. And I have different variables because I got like business income, I got this income. So, but it's good just to track it and know where everything is going. And then you also can have a paper one as well. I don't know if you guys are familiar with like the checkbooks. Yeah. I remember my mom writing down each one of these in a paper one, exactly where each thing went. Yep. And so they would go and they'd cancel that out at the very end, and reconcile is basically the word for it. So that's what like a paper tracking would do, is something like this. So those are 3 ideas for you to help your budget. Okay, so just a couple things to remember. It is that budgets can be used to change from time to time. So you're going to have to change these as your life changes. Okay, after following a budget for a month, reevaluate and make changes as necessary. Okay, you might find in certain areas you might have to increase things, or you're saving for something bigger, some financial goal. Okay, so large purchases. What my wife and I do, we actually have a separate checking account that we go in and we put in basically like our large purchases. Okay, so we take so much money out each month and put in those. Or for like our insurance, as I said before, I pay that in full because you get a discount. And I just put that away a little bit each month in that one. So when the insurance comes due, I just take it out of that bucket. Okay. So these could be things for like automobile purchases, entertainment clothes, vacations, a lot of vacations, that kind of stuff. Be able to save for those each month. So this will all include just financial independence. It's achieved by reducing spending, earning more, saving more, and avoiding negative cash flow. It's so nice to basically, no offense if there's any parents watching, it's so nice to say, bye parents, I don't have to deal with you anymore, right? I can go out in the world and I can live on my own. I don't have to ask you for money. And you get that independence. It's super nice to say. And your parents will like that too, actually. Okay. A spending plan, once again, is a tool that we can avoid negative cash flow and know where your expenses are going. So, okay, so let's talk about this one right here, credit. Okay, credit can be, it's a little scary because those that are not self-disciplined enough, you can get in big trouble big, 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 big trouble. It's not a bad thing, okay? I'm gonna say that. Some people are saying, ugh. Credit's not a bad thing, but you need to have, I mean, and usually, like, in order to buy a house, like, really nobody can really pay cash for a house anymore. I mean, houses are super expensive. You'd have to work 30 years in order to buy a house. And yeah, somebody says they could do it. I've had people do it maybe if you live at home and that kind of stuff. But if you're paying rent, you might as well want that to go into a house, right? And then you're paying down the house instead of paying somebody else for where you're living, okay? And you can build equity in the home as you're getting it. So I would, you know, if you can do it and you can find a way, and like, you know, live with your parents for 10 years, which I'm not sure that, but that. So somebody had a good question. What's the difference between debit versus credit card? Okay. A debit, it comes directly out of your checking or savings account. A credit card goes, you're loaning against the bank. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, because of something we'll talk about a little bit later about identity theft, I don't use a debit card anymore. I put everything on a credit card, and then I pay off that credit card each month. Okay? But I got to watch my spending, right? And I pay it off each month because a debit card, if somebody gets that, they take and somebody steals it, they can steal that money right out of your bank account, and then you have to go through the bank of getting it back, right? If you do it on a credit card and they get your credit card number, the liability is to the credit card company, and you just file a consumer. I've had to do it quite a few times. People have got my credit card way too many times. Yeah, it's kind of stressful because then if you take it out of your bank account, then you don't have any money, right? And that's where all my money is. So I borrow from the bank, but then I pay the bank back every month. So I don't accrue interest or anything like that on my credit card. But you have to be disciplined at it, okay? For example, I had a credit card that was out there that somebody went and put just an automatic payment against, which was a legitimate payment, but I hadn't used that credit card in like a year. And then I got this thing in the mail saying I'm overdue, and so I got like a $27 fee, and so I had to call them up, and I said, okay, this is the situation. I'm paying it off right now. I got to close this credit card, right? So it's a little scary. So we had some questions here. It's better to pay for a house and not rent. Yeah, so if you can pay for a house, if you can put, now you don't have to put this much down, but if you can put about 20% down on a house, which is a lot of money, I mean, think about it, it's like $60,000 on a $300,000 home, which that's probably the average of houses these days because it's just, the market's insane. But if you do that, you don't have to pay what's called, they make some kind of insurance on there. The name's fun, but they charge insurance so much money, like it's quite a bit as well, like sometimes $200 or $300 just towards that insurance when it can be taken off and go towards your principal of your loans. So, but yeah, I mean, if you can get into a home, I think it is a good investment. But renting's good at sometimes as well. It just kind of depends. Okay, so somebody says, "Oh no, I have a debit card." It's all right if you have a debit card. As I said, I don't use them anymore, just because of that reason that I talked about. But debit cards are, I mean, you need them. Okay. You'll get your rent when you fix this. Okay. I want a credit card so I can build credit already. Yeah, that's another thing. You can build credit with a credit card, and we'll talk about that right now. So let's move on. Okay, so we're going to answer the questions. What is credit? Does credit cost? What are the advantages of using credit? And what if I misuse credit? Okay, so a lot of things happen there. Okay, so credit is basically a legal agreement to receive cash, goods, or services now and pay them in the future. Okay, so that's what you do. So you think about a credit card. Let's say I have a credit card limit of $5,000. Okay, does that mean you have $5,000? I hope everybody on there says no. Good. That doesn't mean you have $5,000 whatsoever. Okay. I know people that have thought that before, that they have $5,000 now because their credit limit's $5,000. No, that's not the case. And so what you want to do is use it sparingly. So when I was a teenager, I got my vehicle, and my parents had a co-sign. We'll talk about co-signing in a second, for a credit card for me because I didn't have any credit. And so what I did is I only put gas on it for a while, and I paid off that gas each month, and so I was able to start getting credit towards my name. Okay, and we'll talk about that is. So basically, if you have credit history, so a little bit about credit history. It was born about 100 years ago. In 1960, they reported only negative financial information. In 1971, they have the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which that's the one that you use if somebody steals your credit card. Okay, you say, hey, I did not make these purchases. They take them off your credit card balance, and it's like you never got it, and then they try to go after the guys that stole it. Okay, which usually it's somewhere outside the United States, and they can never find it. So somebody just save for about 2 months and get the amount. Yeah, so you could do that as well if you need to. Is just save for it. But I'll tell you why credit's important here, okay? So here's an example. So the average credit card balance for 2011 in Utah was $6,500 over that, okay? Or that's the United States. The average in Utah was a little bit less at $5,800. But if you're having that every month on your thing, you're paying a lot of interest. So credit cards have a lot of interest. So if you put money on it, they charge you basically like a fee. It's called interest each month for having that credit out there. That's why you want to pay it off each month, okay? And not make the minimum payment balance, okay? So they're paying a lot of money, and I would just say that's wasted money right there, okay? Wasted money. Okay, so there's different types of credit. Let's go over. There's credit cards, there's installment loans, there's service credit, there's revolving credit, there's student loans, there's IOUs, and there's single payoff credit. Okay, so you can get money from a lot of different areas. So you just want to make sure you're there. Okay, I'm just kind of looking at the thing. Basically, when you pay with interest, you basically pay more than you should have. Yep. Very true. So you're just paying more than you have to for an item, right? So you want to make sure you have the cash in the bank before to pay off the credit if you're going to do this. So credit cards, we've probably seen them, plastic or electronic information that can be used to make purchases, obtain cash advances, and cash advance is actually higher interest rate, just so you know. Using lines of credit made available by issuing financial institutions. So an installment loan, we'll just kind of go through these. It's a loan in which they pay off a number of payments are predetermined. So this would be like an automobile loan, okay? So you have a fixed payment each month, set time period, vary interest rates depending on your credit. Example is a mortgage or a car loan. Okay. Revolving credit is credit that does not have a fixed number of payments, such as a credit card. So there's no stated payoff time, which is scary. Limits to credit, a minimum monthly payment, financial charges. Example is a credit card. Service credit is members earn service prior to service, and purchase services. Okay, you have student loans, which I've kind of warned you about student loans before, but if it's the only way you have to pay for college, you gotta make sure it's worth it, okay? It's loan to offer to student things. So some of them, the interest is deferred on the student loans. Some aren't always. And it allows a person to finance their education and defer payments until after graduation. So they are nice in some ways, but I would be very, very careful as you are doing that. Okay, then you have debit cards. Debit cards with electronic information. They look very similar to credit cards, but they go against your checking account. Okay, and we already talked about that before. You swipe it just like a credit card, okay, and instantly that money comes out of your checking account. That's why it's scary if somebody were to get your card. And I have a little girl in my background. You want to say hi? Here, you can say hi to the class. Okay. All right, go play.
Recording started.
Sorry, guys. I got kids fighting. No, she's a really good girl most of the time. She just got home from school, so but you guys are almost getting done with school, so let's do this, right? Okay. So sources of credit, so they can come from different areas. So banks can loan you money, credit unions, finance companies, retail stores. So you've probably seen like different companies like shops in the mall that can offer you money. Yeah, credit unions sometimes are. I mean, some people like banks because they're more areas, they're bigger. Credit unions, more local, that kind of stuff. Savings and loan associations and internet stores can all offer you guys all credit. Okay. I get offers all the time saying eBay, right? eBay said, "Oh, you can put this on your credit." No, probably not, because then I'll forget to pay it. It won't be good. Okay, how to establish credits? Well, if you get a bank account, that's probably your first one. Okay, so get a bank account, or go to your credit union, get a bank account. Employment history. So if you're holding a job and getting money coming in, they'll look at your taxes and that kind of stuff. Residency history. So if you've lived in the area for a while and you're not transient and moving from place to place. Utilities in your name. So if you were to, like your phone, if you put your phone in your name and you just pay on your phone, you will get credit that way. Department stores or gas credit cards are a good way to start establishing credit. How to maintain a good credit rating. You establish good credit history. That means you're paying your bills and paying them on time. Okay, pay monthly balances on time. Use credit card sparingly and stay within your limits, so you're not going. So when I first got my credit card, I think I had like a $500 limit. Okay, so if I were to go over that limit, they wouldn't like that too much. Okay, so you want to make sure you do that, and then they'll go and say, "Hey, you get a bigger limit because of this or that or the other." Okay. Do not move balances to other cards. So that's something that people do, is they take one balance on another card and put it on another card so they can just kind of rotate them around. Credit card companies will catch on and they don't like that. Okay. Check credit reports regularly. So there's credit reports out there that show what your credit score is. And of course, the better it is, the better your opportunity are to get like an auto loan or a mortgage on there. Okay, some risks. So you have interest that come in there, overspending. So if you're just swiping a card all the time, you never know how much you're spending. Okay, so you got to just kind of watch that. You can go into a lot of debt, and then you also have identity theft. As I said, debit cards are what scares me with identity theft, and even writing checks these days, because checks at the bottom, you have your routing number and your account number at the bottom of the check. Anybody could get that and start trying to get into your account and start getting things from there. Okay, it's a little scary, and we're going to have a whole unit on identity theft. Okay, know the real cost of debt. So I have an example. So I knew somebody that went and they purchased a $4.25 or something like that at Burger King to get a burger and fries and a drink. Okay, well, they went over their limit. And that's something with credit cards and stuff like that and debit cards, if you go over your limit or your balance runs out, they charge a $20 fee on top of that. And so basically that burger, fries, and drink costs $24.25. Okay? So you got to watch it. You got to see what happens, okay? Don't use credit beyond your means. It is all about the details. Read the fine print. So not all credit cards are made equal, okay? There's some good ones out there, but there's ones that really, really high interest, so you'll want to look for those. Pay as much as you can, as early as you can, and just get them paid off, okay? So as I said, you'd really just want to put the money in there every month. Just pay it completely off. Okay, I talked about this before, so another way, my first car loan, I had to have my father sign for me, with me. So basically it says I'm responsible for paying for this car, and if I don't pay for it, it will go to the person that co-signed with me. So you better know your person very well if you're ever going to co-sign on a loan for somebody, okay? Collateral, okay? A lot of places want collateral. So to get an auto loan, your car becomes that collateral. And if you default on your loan, the bank will come and grab your car, and then they'll take it from you, and then they own the car and they'll sell the car. And all the money that you put into it, it's gone away, right? You don't get it back. Okay. Same with a house. A house is collateral. They could come and take your house from you, okay? So that's what you need, some type of reassurance to them that for bigger items, and that's what collateral is. Okay, so there's some advantages and disadvantages. Advantages: it's convenient, it's immediate, no cash is needed, zero liability on fraud for credit cards, which I said my big one for me. Helps on reservations. Okay, so you had to put like a reservation for like a hotel or something like that. They hold so much on your card and they give it back to you after you've left. You can get bonus points. So that's something you probably see all the time. It's like, I use this certain cards because it gives me travel rewards, that kind of stuff. That's good only if you're paying off it every month, right? If you're not paying off it every month, you're basically paying for those points through all the interest, and you're probably paying more than you would have. Okay? Disadvantage: it's a loan. You have interest rates. There's additional fees. Some credit cards charge like I've seen all the way up to a $500 fee each year to use their credit card. Okay? They waive it the first year, and the second year you get hit with this, $500 charge, and you're like, what the heck is this for? Okay? It's easy to overspend when you're just swiping a card. It can prompt impulse purchases. The risk of identity theft. So, as I said before, like, I've had people steal my credit card all the time. I just have to call and reorder a new one and say this wasn't me, and then they take it off. It just becomes a real big hassle. Responsible if lost. So if you lose a credit card and somebody does it, you can kind of become responsible for that. Particularly your debit card. Okay, so watch that. Okay, so let's do some scenarios real quick. So let's say you had $1,000 balance. Okay, time to pay it off, 12 years. You pay the minimum payment. Okay, so this is doing minimum payments on a credit card. $1,000. You're going to be charged $979. So you'd be $1,979 if you paid the minimum payment for 12 years. And that's on $1,000, guys. That's ridiculous. Okay, I don't like this one down here. Let's just look at this one down here. $5,000, 24 months to pay for. You make the minimum payment. $6,000 that you spend in interest, so you over double pay for what you paid for. What happens if someone spends a lot of money on your card and then they report it as not their purchases to get their money back? So that's happened. I've got up to $600 that was taken out of my credit card that wasn't mine. It was someplace over in India. They just kept hitting it like with $50 charges, $30 charges, and it ended up being like $600. You just report that to the credit card company, and because of that act, that Fair Credit Reporting Act, the credit card company has to take that. They just take that money off your balance, and then you have to give them a statement and write this thing saying, hey, this wasn't me that did it, and that's how it works. But it becomes a big hassle too, you know what I mean? And you have to cancel that card and get a new card that comes. So, but you don't have to pay that money back. That's why I like using credit cards. But as I said, you gotta be careful. You gotta be super careful. Okay. Here's some other ones. 24% interest rate, which is pretty common. Minimum payments, $2,000. You're gonna spend 9 years, 9 months to pay it off with the minimum payments. Really? $1,000 of Starbucks gift cards on your dad's card. Yeah, you probably didn't have to pay it unless it was his debit card, right? And then you gotta be, because if they actually somebody stole the actual card and like swiped it, and they saw that, your dad never reported it, so I'd be interested to see how that happened. What happened, Mallory? Okay, but see how much you're paying here. If you do $10,000, you're gonna pay just as much in interest over a 16-year period. So just whatever you're going to spend on a credit card, make sure you have the money to pay it off right away. So here's another one. You owe $4,500. The APR, which is the interest, is 21%. Minimum payment is $15 a month, or 4% of the current balance. It'll take you 11.9 years to pay that off. And that's with not spending any more money. So it's just stupid. You gotta be careful. Pretty sure it's a credit card. Good, yeah. So he is probably good. Zero liability that he has there. Yeah, so interest, you'd pay $3,331 on that. So you want to be careful. All right. Okay, so we're going down the very end here. Cost of using a credit card. Sometimes there's financial charges, interest. Sometimes you'll forget and you'll get hit with interest, okay? Late fees, default rates, and closing costs. Okay? So to get like you're going to spend a lot of money if you're getting a home loan in closing costs. So that's something you want to think about. Yeah, so interest, the problem is you're not going to get money from anywhere else, right? Unless you're like loan it from a family, but where are they getting the money from, right? So people want to make money, and so they lend money to people and they get money back in return for it. Okay? So it's just how it works. So if you are rich, you can give out a private loan to somebody and you could make some money that way from interest. And that's what these big banks and everything are doing. And then they take that money they make, they invest it in the stock market, and they make billions and billions of dollars. So, okay, so warnings about credit card abuse. Okay, delinquent payments, default notices, repossession of your home, cars, whatever you bought. Collections agencies calling. You can get a judgment or lien put out of you, which basically means that, and garnishment. These are similar. Basically, well, a lien is basically against like some property you have. So if you were to ever sell your house, you have to pay whoever it was that you never paid before you get any money out of it. Garnishment of wages basically means that it comes right out of your paycheck. You know, before you get paid, your employer has to pay this person that money. Okay? So that, I mean, it all gets in the court system. It gets pretty nasty. So you just want to try to stay out of debt as much as you can. That's what I would tell you. I mean, there's some things you have to go in debt for, but try to make it limited, you know. Okay. Other things, overspending, paying higher interest rates, lower credit score, difficulty getting extra loans and getting some things that you need. Okay. All right, that puts us to the end. I'm going to stop the recording real quick. But do you guys have any questions